Hey Reddit. People who grew up in third world countries. What was the biggest shock for you when moving into a developed country? Like and sub if America rules. And share your American surprise in the comments. A Songan African man who was staying with me came rushing in the first week he was staying me and woke me up. He was extremely excited that there was a garbage truck with a motorized arm and was picking up the wheelie bins as it went down the street. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? He kept exclaiming over and over again. Amazing. Amazing. It made me laugh very hard. But he was a lovely guy. Wow. Thank you so much for all the karma. Did not expect this small but sentimental memory to affect so many people. That things would get fixed. I had a vending machine in my dorm building. It broke down and said well shiz guess no more vending machine. Absolutely flabbergasted when I saw the machine repaired and working. Drinking water directly from water taps. How things actually work. You can rely on your electricity not going out at least twice a day. If you buy something and it breaks, there's warranty with little to no hassle. Internet actually works more than it doesn't. Public transportation actually arrives and shockingly, it does on time. If you hire a service, it'll actually be done and with an expectation of quality. The list goes on. Of course it's not perfect and there's shizzy people everywhere. But that's the exception, not the rule. And it's a massive difference. I visited Germany once with my family. We were about to cross the road when a Porsche came racing through. Living in India, we experience daily traffic mishaps and there is negligible concern regarding pedestrian safety and courtesy. So we were actually shocked when the driver literally halted to a stop and insisted on us crossing the road. There was no traffic light. No zebra crossings, nothing, and we actually were used to letting cars pass by before walking. So this was the biggest shock to us. The lights. So many lights from street lamps. Traffic lights. Huge buildings lit up all night. Oh, and the highways blew my mind. They were so wide and full of so many cars. I was 6 and I'll never forget that first drive from the airport to my new home in December. It was also my first time seeing snow. People's personal space is surprisingly vast. The postal system. The logistics of delivering millions of letters to millions of homes on a daily basis is astonishing. Especially at that price. The idea that I can send a letter across the country and have it reliably delivered the next or possibly even same day is truly impressive. You've got so much fresh water. You shiz in it. I visited my cousins in the US once. I was surprised that your houses don't have walls around them. There were only those fences at the side and back that pretty much anyone can jump over. Where I live, the only houses who don't have walls surrounding them are those in compounds or subdivisions that have roaming security guards. Paid security guards, not volunteers like the neighborhood watch kind of thing. Toilets, flushing toilets that you could repeatedly flush to. I grew up in South Africa and have been living in England for 20 years. 1. Cars stop when you walk up to a pedestrian crossing. 2. Double glazed windows are really good at keeping the warm in and the noise out. 3. I can walk around at night without thinking I'm going to get shot or robbed. 4. There are only a few people on building sites and the buildings get built in a quick and organized manner. 5. When things break, someone will come and fix it. I could go on all day. The quality of the public infrastructure. And how respectful city planning is with pedestrians. Sydney is full of beautiful little gifts in the shape of shortcuts. Stairs. Parks. Pathways. Everywhere. It truly is a joy to just walk through the city. Also, dogs are more polite than people where I come from. Removed. How old the houses are. I was expecting modern construction like in my country. I instead saw old buildings which, ironically, valued more than even the more modern ones. Not me, but I heard about a couple here in Spain who offered their home as a temporary retreat for miners who were about to be sent back to Africa. Can't really remember the details. It is, in fact, a program called Vacaciones en Paz for Sahrawi kids. Children spend a summer with Spanish families. Thanks to you, Hopeless Wander 147. You, Priceless Planet, and you, Neuropsycho, for filling me on the details I forgot about. One of the youngest kids took back with him a faucet, believing it would pour water whenever needed. How little theft there is. I was always told to always mind my bag and make it clear I'm holding it tight. Now I can freely leave it beside me. Sometimes not even look. I've had friends leave a purse on a table in a restaurant and I made jokes about how easy it would be to steal it. Just a lot more relaxing in public due to less theft. Another one is how less physical fighting in schools there is. From a young age I was always told, if someone hits you, hit them back harder, but when we moved to UK my dad told me before my first day of school, if someone hits you, tell the teacher. When I was in the Marines I had a friend that was from extreme rural Africa. So we took him to 3D shows and such. He had been in the US for around 6 months, but even things like TV was an amazing luxury to him. Someone in the group picked up one at a pawn shop off post and gave it to him, and he was just amazed that someone would just give him a TV. Something nifty. He had it set up so direct deposits would go to an account his village had access to. His salary as an E2 in the Navy made his family semi-royalty in the village. Being able to walk around the city while using my phone. If I use it where I live, I get murdered, raped or kidnapped over a phone. Honduran. Giant grocery stores are full of food and always fully stocked. Coming from Ukraine to USA in the 90s. My entire family's jaws dropped for hours. My roommate's coworker is from Guatemala. He says the one of the best things about the US is that when you call for an ambulance, one actually shows up even if you aren't rich or important. The discipline in driving. In my country, even when the signal light is color red, they just brush it off and continue accelerating. F-seeking morons. Not getting suspicious when a stranger talks to you on the street. I can't get over it. I get anxious every time. But people in Canada don't seem to mind at all. Where I come from, when a stranger approaches you, you note the frick out. Lack of a local warlord. Safety when walking on the streets during night. When in Brazil, I used to wait for my wife on the bus stop from college. As she usually left college around 2200. It was dangerous. We used to live on a central zone. And her college was also central. In Ireland. If she leaves a party at 3 o'clock, I don't get concerned at all. So great to live without being afraid. It took us about 1 year to relax. How expensive many things are while certain things are very cheap, but there's always enough. There wasn't too much of a disparity between what I knew and what was directly spoken to me compared to what was portrayed in media regarding the United States. However, the biggest and most glaringly obvious difference was how easy and common a thing it would be to have someone of another ethnic or racial background within arm's reach. My younger self, being more accustomed and familiar with brown skin. Walking around Miami International and seeing so many beautiful and new tones of skin was shook. I moved from South Africa to the UK, and the fact that you can actually live off minimum wage is just incredible. Pay rent and bills, buy food and slowly furnish your house. It's phenomenal. Also, the fact that most of the UK-born citizens think this is a terrible place to live is just beyond me. I always get asked why'd I leave sunny South Africa to come to this shithole. They just don't understand how good they've got it. How fast food wasn't $50 per person, but rather $5 minus 10. Also, how much civilization advances when the AC is on all day and everywhere. It's a blessing. That people don't care at all with the clothes or my overall appearance, weight, hair, etc. In Brazil I always get comments good or bad about how I look. Mainly from friends or family, but it's common to always talk about it. When I moved to Australia I made friends. And never got a comment about any of these things. It was a big relief to find out that I can be myself and not worry about the tons of comments about something that doesn't matter at all. This is a bit of a cop-out that I answer because I usually live in wealthy countries, but I lived in a small town in Bolivia for 18 months and the two unexpected things that got to me when we left was cars everywhere. Going to the toilet without it being an ordeal. And seeing your reflection. Such a weird thing. We lived in grass roof huts, so the only time you'd see your reflection would be in our tiny mirror. There's no glass or bathroom mirrors. I'm not vain, but it was very strange to suddenly see what I look like all the time. I had lost about 25 kgs 55 pounds while I was there, so that was even stranger. My wife's first time in the US, she burst out laughing at how a four-way stop worked. And just couldn't believe people actually followed the rules. How the smallest inconvenience can make people rant like they have serious depression. People are actually, not ironically, nice to each other. Coming from Soviet shithole where every man for himself, it was so unusual. Took me a few years to learn how to smile. My godparents adopted two girls from Ethiopia. They were straight terrified of anybody's dogs. Anybody's. In their hometown, kids were regularly attacked and killed by wild, street dogs. Everyone's always inside their houses. Back in my country everyone would always go outside. You could see kids playing. Old people talking to each other. There's always people outside. Because of that I made a lot of friends. I wake up every morning to see my friends just sitting there outside of their houses. And we would greet and then walk around our neighborhood to meet our new friends. And then we'd talk or play basketball. It was fun. It was much more fun. Then I moved to Japan. I thought just like in my country. Kids would always be outside. And I thought I could make friends easily with the neighborhood kids. Turns out, everyone is always inside. The whole neighborhood felt like a ghost town. There were no kids hanging out outside. The place has so many houses. But it felt very empty. Then it hit me. I missed my home. I became homesick. I had no friends. Every day I'm always inside the house. And it was the most boring part of my life. Then it became depression. And just got worse and worse. It has been 6 years. I have a job now. I'm always at home. Bought myself guitars, PS4 and a computer to make myself occupied. But I prefer going outside. Meeting and talking with friends. Rather than this kind of life. I still miss my previous home. I still miss my previous life. Maybe not a third world country per se. But I've lived in Turkey my whole life. And recently moved to the UK. First off, people here are super cold. They all seem like they want to die. There are also a lot of elderly people. Like a lot. The biggest difference was that the crosswalks actually did something. Like you could pass them and cars would stop. If I did anything other than sprint across the road when there were no cars around in Turkey, I'd be mush by now.